With David Robinson at the top of the key, Hakeem loads to the ball at the edge of the legal boundary, the bottom of the little circle, so his quick reaction time can erase a layup.
All right, welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope you all are having a good night so far. Hope you guys are having a good day. So I've been meaning to check this out for a long time. As criminal as this might be, I think I've only done one or two videos, like reacted to one or two videos that are directly about Hakeem Olajuwon. It's time to fix that. So what we have here is a video from Thinking Basketball, which is one of my all-time favorite basketball YouTube channels by far. And this one's titled Hakeem Olajuwon's Absurd Post Moves Were Only His Second Best Skill. Greatest Peaks, Episode 8. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Greatest Peaks series, but it's fantastic. So, when is he gonna cover this? Probably like 92 to 96, maybe, right in that range. It's one of the, that's gotta be Hakeem's peak. But yeah, he's gonna just cut out this portion of a player's career, in this case Hakeem, and then basically just like make a case for him, this like being like the greatest peak of all time. And it's a very interesting series because there's so many players that could be on this list as far as greatest peaks, and a lot of them they fell off because of injuries and whatnot. But we all remember these players that just like came in, exploded, and then they were out, But Hakeem was not that guy. Hakeem was hooping his entire career, but it's gonna be cool to see the best of the best that Hakeem had to offer. Anyways, as I always do, I'm gonna link the original video down below. Highly suggest you guys go over there and subscribe to Thinking Basketball. Like I really do. If you value basketball content, like this is good stuff. This is pure basketball content. So yeah, link's gonna be in the description for you guys, as well as a list of channel members. Shout out to channel members. I appreciate you all very much. Thank you all for the help. And everybody else, if you want to help this video out, leave it a like, leave a comment down below, and that's all I need. It helps out a bunch, you guys. Thank you very much. Without further ado, let's appreciate one of the greatest players of all time.
Many people view Hakeem Olajuwon's 2 championships in the middle of the 90s as a kind of interim title belt on rent while Michael Jordan swung away at curveballs. But maybe Hakeem should have been in the best player conversation before Jordan retired. Maybe his dazzling scoring repertoire unlocked something special in the playoffs. And maybe that incredible defense made him one of the very best players of the three-point era.
I mean, I'll tell you guys what, like, I'm about it the biggest Jordan fan I know, and I will never disrespect Hakeem Olajuwon's accomplishments like that. Like, no way will I do it. He earned everything he got, in my opinion.
You are watching what greatness is all about.
Where's Larry Bird in all this? Has it blocked by Olajuwon?
And just so you guys know, this is an older video, so
this series tackles one
so if the quality's a little low visually, nothing I can do about it, you guys. Sorry.
Question: who was the best at his best?
Yeah.
We start at the ABA merger and go through the best multi-year stretches, examining the legends who provided the most on-court impact. These are the greatest peaks.
93 to 95, all right.
I was playing other sports, soccer, volleyball, field hockey, high jump, more of an all-around athlete. But the coach was telling me that basketball is your game.
Hakeem's defensive highlights have the grandiosity of some NFL films montage. No one in NBA history recorded more block shots than Hakeem Olajuwon. Even though he was closer to 6'10" than a true 7 feet, his incredible combination of athleticism and timing made him feel like a very tall Oliver Kahn on the basketball court. This sequence epitomizes how impregnable he could be at the rim. Scottie Pippen turns the corner with Dream pulled up top, and Otis Thorpe has no chance against the explosive Pippen. But when Chicago runs this with Hakeem as the low man, Olajuwon spits the dunk back in Scottie's face, and Pippen has a runway and is above the square, and he still goes and gets it.
A fun little tidbit, this is why Jordan when asked your all-time starting five, he picked Hakeem Olajuwon at the center position. So he said basically he's got no weaknesses. He's a top player in every single category that exists.
It's not any easier trying to glide around Hakeem because that long right hockey stick finds the basketball as he twists in the air. The first cornerstone of his shot-blocking brilliance was his accuracy targeting the ball with that domineering right hand. Notice the hand tracks with the path of the ball as it's shot. Even in his younger days, when he was slightly less polished, he was incredibly accurate targeting the rock.
Damn.
And growing up as a handball player primed him to zero in on the ball like this. Hakeem didn't play
Kind of looks a little like Bill Russell now, doesn't it?
Basketball in Nigeria until he was about 16, so it was really volleyball that groomed his jumping technique. He'd patiently prepare to spring up and wait till the precise moment to commit to a shot. He holds until Sean Elliott's airborne, then spikes this thing.
Damn. So yeah, that is brilliant. He waits. He's not going for a pump fake then. He's waiting until you actually leave the floor, and then he's going to make it up with quickness in order to get to the block on time. That's a fast block, you guys. Like in slow motion.
To a shot. He holds until Sean Elliott's airborne, then spikes this thing.
Like,
this is subtle
fast.
and requires great reflexes. But when Olajuwon moved around the paint, he was constantly ready to jump, which allowed him to attack after a shooter left his feet.
Yeah, it was a split second after before the shooter went up that he went up right afterwards.
Display here where he slides over to contest, but when Elliott hesitates, Hakeem shuffles his feet into a new jumping position and sends it back in his face.
Damn.
Yes, in the face!
Oh,
this
Coming
is
to
an
America.
Incredible skill, allowing him to slide.
Guys, I never saw Coming to America 2. I didn't really want to taint the original. Did you guys watch it? Should I watch it? I mean, I when I say like I love the movie Coming to America, like I mean it. Like I watched that probably like a couple hundred times growing up. So if I watch the second one, is it going to kind of ruin it? Let me know.
Into position for a save, yet he doesn't jump, instead controlling his body and waiting for the moment the shooter finally puts it up.
Dude.
He probably learned some of this playing his third major sport growing up, soccer, where fittingly he played goalkeeper, foreshadowing his career as the NBA's all-time leader in blocks. Hakeem registered at least 5 blocks in 35% of his playoff games from 1986 to 1994.
Wait, can I hear that again?
5 blocks in 35% of his playoff games from 1986 to 1994.
Damn.
And in those last 2 years, had 5 in nearly half of his postseason contests.
Jeez.
When he was younger, he was more of an athletic force, but still fairly raw since he picked up basketball at such a late age. And by 1990, his defensive techniques were more polished, and he still had that whirlwind athleticism.
See, this is what I'm talking about, by the way, nowadays. Like, I feel like we're missing out on players like this in the NBA because, like, it used to be if somebody was unique, it didn't matter if they didn't go, like, climb up the rankings and all these programs for the United States. If they were a unique, different-looking talent, we give you a shot and we'll see if it works. And in Hakeem's situation, damn did it work. But I feel like we're missing out on players like him.
But his 1993 season blended some sage tricks with his incredible body control that was so rare in someone his size.
Yep.
For example, Hakeem learned to lurk closer to the ball than most big men of the illegal defense era. You see Joe Klein point here because Olajuwon should be above the foul line, but Dream was so quick to the ball he was rarely called for these violations. With David Robinson at the top of the key, Hakeem loads to the ball at the edge of the legal boundary, the bottom of the little circle, so his quick reaction time can erase a layup.
Man.
This subtle positioning was especially valuable on the weak side. He's not glued to Robinson and was always tracking the ball, ready to materialize at the rim. Poor Sean Elliott.
Poor Sean Elliott,
Olajuwon's quick help was a nightmare for opponents who were reluctant to shoot when he went into fly swatting mode with that right hand.
Ooh.
He tracked threats well and was so quick to come into the lane and suffocate any attempt around the basket. When Hakeem went to the bench, Opposing teams could finally breathe. All of a sudden, those high percentage shots around the hoop felt much easier. Back in the game, he swarmed to the ball, even with his man up high, and that response speed generated more high leverage contests than any contemporary that I've tracked. He didn't get to every threat. He pounces on this back cut, but it's a touch too late. And every once in a while, he missed a cut.
I want to see that one again real quick.
But it's a touch too late.
At least he knows when he's beat. You know, he could have got a garbage foul out of frustration there. At least he knows. If he's beat, he'll get him next time.
And every once in a while, he missed a cutter coming through the lane. But he was usually quick to rotate,
what are you gonna
plugging
do there?
up gaps in the back line. Although by 1995, he was a bit slower, sometimes arriving late on these save attempts from outside the paint, and a slightly slower motor meant he wasn't itching to jump at everything on command.
What's crazy to me, oh, that's bright. What's crazy to me is that Hakeem got drafted in 84, same when Jordan did and Barkley. Like, how did it take about 10 years for him to hit his peak? It's very interesting. But, like, I don't think he was at his physical peak at this point. Because, like it's been mentioned here, he could jump higher. He was more athletic in his youth. But mentally, he was on another level by this point. Like, he figured out the game fully. And I think I think I can answer my own question. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. But it's probably because he got the basketball so late in his life, huh? So, like, it took him some time to really just figure out the game and figure out, like, what his spot is in this game. And then he just dominated after that once he figured it out.
Hakeem's agility helped him defend the perimeter too. For one, he was rarely ever attacked by wings on switches. They also didn't run as many pick and rolls in the 90s as they do today, and coverages weren't as developed then, yet he was still comfortable stepping out and taking on smaller players in these spots without too much of a price to pay. On this 1993 play, Hakeem realizes there's too much space between him and the ball, so he closes it quickly, then sort of lingers near the lane so he can blow up another shot attempt. Here he blitzes the ball handler to completely blow up the play, although maybe he's too overzealous hounding the dribbler into the backcourt. Still, this fantastic mobility allowed...
Wait, did he just throw the ball away at the end there? Come on. Or did it get deflected out? It probably got deflected out. Yeah, I got deflected.
Still,
My bad.
this fantastic mobility allowed him to erase weaknesses in these outdated ball screen coverages. He's really low and lunges at the ball from this crouch, then somehow slides back to contest. He's hugged up to Shaq on this pick and roll, but that fluid footwork shifts him into position so he can seamlessly transition from sliding to jumping, and preternatural timing stamps the layup.
Dang. I was just going to say it before he said it too. Footwork isn't just on offense, you guys. Footwork on defense is so important.
The culmination of Olajuwon's volleyball timing, soccer agility, and handball accuracy led to the most important block of his career. This John Stark shot is for the title in 1994. Hakeem slams on the brakes, then somehow recovers backwards and times this leap off the wrong foot to save the season.
Dang. Yeah, whoa, indeed.
This matrix recovery looks half impossible, but he does somehow block it to force a seventh game that Houston would go on to win in large part because of Olajuwon's offense, which may have been even more gravity bending than his defense.
That recovery is insane.
I remember one time I gave him a ball and he just laughed. nice elbow, brother. And then he came out and gave me a
And by Shaq means the dream shake, Hakeem's twirling array of head fakes and spins that set up so many of his moves. His blend of size and balletic footwork made him a deadly isolation weapon, and these were skills he possessed early in his career, drilling crazy fadeaway jumpers, or faking one way to freeze defenders and then spinning for a jump hook. That agility and balance gave him an edge over most bigs of that time. But shot selection was an issue in those early days, launching into triple teams at times, and in other cases just firing deep jumpers early in the shot clock. By 1993, Hakeem's scoring game was more polished and under control, carving out shots like some sort of basketball ballerina.
Yeah, that's beautiful right there.
All of his moves flowed together, which made them so difficult to slow down. A spin one way, then back the other, throw an up fake, and then a hook. From there, he could fake the hook to set up his fadeaway to the opposite shoulder. And at around 250 pounds, he was able to pivot with power and find clean shots in traffic.
In other words, he flowed so good that, Hakeem Olajuwon was water, my friends. This is what Bruce Lee means.
Even double teams couldn't always stop his fadeaway because he could twist and contort into the shot comfortably. And Dream could also face up from the perimeter and wheel his way into those. Michael Jordan once called him a 7-foot guard.
Yeah.
Because Hakeem's handle was secure enough to drive into open space, and that quickness was a challenge for most opponents, who worked really hard just to keep up, only to be juked right into Highlightville.
Yep, I'm sorry. I have a lot of respect for Giannis, but before Giannis, man, there was the Dream. And the Dream, man, I'm going with the Dream all day.
After all of that, big men still had to worry about his spin.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so nasty. Hakeem's array of pirouettes and dizzying pump fakes crescendoed in the 1995 Western Finals against David Robinson.
Got you.
Who was often left on an island to defend him, inviting Hakeem to shoot into that single coverage. This series wasn't actually that different from Olajuwon's normal scoring these years.
Jeez.
There were a number
Look at all he does on one pivot foot.
Actually that different from Olajuwon's normal
What the
scoring these
heck?
years. There were a number of those savage
gotcha.
fadeaways, some of which were still really difficult and didn't always go in, along with an assortment of drives, up fakes, spins, and hook shots. A lack of double teams made life easier for Hakeem, who obviously welcomed the chance to dance with Robinson in an isolation game. Olajuwon is one of the few players who improved his scoring numbers in the playoffs, and from 1993 to 95, he was just behind the all-time scoring juggernauts in volume while scoring on positive efficiency. As a primary scorer, he compares favorably to other contemporary big men. However, the brilliance of Hakeem's shot-making was a double-edged sword. These moves were difficult for defenses to take away without hard double teams, but they also were hard shots to make. Most players manufacture easy points against weak defenses, but are forced into harder, low-percentage shots against elite ones. But Hakeem's attempts were already difficult in the first place. He just made a bunch of them. And since he could generate these shots almost on demand, stronger defenses couldn't really take away his scoring because he was already taking those hard shots.
To be fair, Jordan's fadeaway jumper, the way he does it, the amount that he fades, that's a hard shot. You guys practice that shot? That's a hard shot to make on a regular basis. Takes a lot of practice. So no different for Hakeem. It shows that he put the work in, basically, because that shot's not a natural 50%. Shot for anybody. You have to really work at it in order to get that kind of a percentage.
This kind of resilient or inelastic...
how cool would it be if all of a sudden Giannis developed a true post game like this and he started busting everyone with a fadeaway jumper like Hakeem did? That would be disgusting. I would love it.
Scoring meant Olajuwon's numbers weren't dented that much when he faced stiffer defenses. Compared to other players in this series, Olajuwon shows some of the smallest change among volume scorers when facing high-end defensive teams versus facing weak defensive teams. One way to limit Hakeem's scoring was by sending effective help that forced him into a pass. He was dangerous enough that defenses frequently doubled him, and that created plenty of outside shots for teammates. But Olajuwon was not a natural passer. His instinct was to catch and immediately shift into a scoring move, which is why he jacked up so many wild shots when he was younger.
Yeah, that's a wild one.
In 1993, Hakeem said he finally grew comfortable trusting his teammates to knock down their open shots, and coach Rudy Tomjanovich implemented a more Olajuwon-centric offense, with shooters around Hakeem in a kind of spoken wheel model. He was more patient in spots, allowing the defense to commit to a double team before making a decision, and this substantially helped his playmaking during these years by punishing defenses with some basic passing instead of his own scoring.
I know, off the top of my head, I mean, they put Sam Cassell, Kenny Smith, eventually Clyde Drexler, Mario Elie would knock down some deep balls, Robert Ory, yeah, they definitely planned correctly. Because just surround this brilliant big man with a bunch of shooters who can knock down the open shot, they eating all day.
His balance and body control allowed him to flow from his scoring dance steps.
Look at that. Yeah, take your pick. You got two guys right here wide open. Take your pick.
Passes if he felt too much pressure.
That's Ory's spot, though.
This is a stark contrast to Robinson in the last episode, who could get locked up by hard doubles. Hakeem, on the other hand, easily segued from a dream shake to a pass. This helped replace some difficult shots with passes. He misses a teammate in close, but at least finds the open shooter. And here he feels the double, misses a more advanced interior pass, but still calmly kicks it to a teammate. Now, even in those years, Olajuwon still took his fair share of double team shots, where he left shooters stranded. His instinct to just catch and immediately look to score was still strong even at his peak. But I think a bigger weakness was a lack of vision. This looks like it's in his periphery, but he misses it, and he rarely ever hit these kinds of passes. It's still there when he shoots.
Huh. Maybe he had something with his eyes. He didn't have much peripheral vision.
Some of this was a byproduct of playing with his back to the basket and not turning and surveying the court. But Olajuwon wasn't someone who mapped the floor or kept an eye on advantages like this.
And let's be fair, back in the 90s, you really couldn't. In the post, you couldn't face up like that. You'd lose the ball immediately. So you had to play back to the basket. Hell, I mean, I don't think Magic Johnson wanted to play point guard with his back to the basket, but you had to do it. That's just the way the game was because everyone was using their forearm and hand checking.
His primary focus was reading the double team, and here he spins away from it and loses track of where his teammates are.
Oop.
To be fair, he could hit passes if he felt an extra defender on a drive, and he certainly had the athletic dexterity to drop dimes in those situations. Still, more of his passing was out of the post, and the results from there were certainly mixed. Maximizing Hakeem's playmaking really required shooters who were spaced around the three-point arc, and this likely raised his offensive value in 1995 when the NBA shortened the three-point line. Higher percentage shooters amplified Hakeem's playmaking by charging more for those double teams in the post. In 1995, the Rockets set a new NBA record for threes in a season, making nearly 8 per game at 37%. Then in the playoffs, they were closer to 9 threes per game at a hefty 39%.
Nice.
The record they broke was held by the 1994 Rockets, who made 5 a game in the regular season and then nearly 7 at 36% in the playoffs. And you'll never guess who held the playoff record before that, the 1993 Rockets. They made 5 per game at 37%.
And that's when I actually appreciate three-point balls. When you start by going inside out, so you give the ball to the big man in the post. If the double team doesn't come, the big man punishes you until eventually they're going to throw a double team in at you. Now you make those reads, you hit wide open shooters for open three-pointers. That I can get behind all day, every day. It's this dribble, step back, like double step back threes that's driving me nuts. Or we've got 22 seconds still on the shot clock, and I'm just going to dribble right up and bomb a three from the top of the key. That's the kind of stuff that drives me nuts. But these, like in the actual flow of the offense, three-pointers, that's what the three-point line was created for. Exactly this.
Some of those playoff percentages might be boosted by hot shooting, but playing inside out was clearly the viable way to construct an offense around Olajuwon.
I agree.
And the results were pretty good, but not great. The shortened line in 1995 made this a more attainable strategy, basically doubling the number of legit 35% three-point shooters in the league overnight, But Houston's offense wasn't great because of Hakeem's passing limitations. He didn't look for extra passes like this naturally, and so it's unclear how he would fit next to another offensive star. The other tools were there to fit next to a playmaking perimeter weapon. First, he was a really solid mid-range shooter, and that allowed him to play the pick and pop game effectively. Dream was nimble enough to move into some of these shots, and the data we have on his long twos near the end of his career suggests he was fairly efficient from the outside. He wasn't as big and explosive as someone like Robinson, either as a lob threat or headed downhill, but his agility made him a strong finisher, and this meant he was always a scoring threat as a roll man, using his gracefulness to carve out finishes near the rim. Furthermore, Hakeem was also a fantastic offensive rebounder.
Dang.
Some of this is related to his shot blocking, where he
that's
could
a foul. But I don't care. It looks great.
move and jump in one motion. The other part is that he just constantly pursued the ball on misses.
I know he missed that one, but how many times in his career have we seen Robert Horry just the exact same thing?
One
wide
motion.
Open.
The other part is that he just
wide open, just ready to bomb a three, and it was always right in this radius, right in this area. You rarely see him anywhere else, and he was just bombing threes over here, usually right here.
Constantly pursued the ball on misses. And all those jukes and shakes, along with his physical strength, made him a pain to keep off the offensive glass. He was particularly dangerous sneaking in from the perimeter, swimming past two players here to steal Shaq's board. So the building blocks were certainly there for Olajuwon to play a fairly effective off-ball role. It's just a question of how many post touches and hero ball shots he was willing to forego. His defensive prowess alone makes him interesting to build around because in theory he guarantees his team a passable defense, and with the right pieces, he can anchor an elite one. Before Hakeem's defense started to slide in 1995, those first two Tomjanovich teams held opponents about 4 points below their regular season efficiency in the playoffs. That's around the 70th percentile historically, which is impressive for not fielding a defensively slanted team like Detroit's Bad Boys or the Twin Towers Spurs. Some of this impact stemmed from Hakeem's man-to-man defense. His shot-blocking instincts made shooting around him tricky, while his agile feet kept quicker big men in front of him. His balance and timing gave post players a ton of trouble, which stood out in the 1994 finals against Patrick Ewing. Ewing struggled to find any clean shots when isolated against Olajuwon, and ended up posting an unheard of 39% true shooting in that 7-game series. Hakeem had incredible hands too, probably from the handball, and one of his defensive tricks when guarding the post was to time up a quick push flick once his man started dribbling.
That was smooth.
Sometimes just getting the ball to the post was a chore against him because he gobbled entry passes better than just about any center ever. He was constantly repositioning himself into a slight overplay to take away the passing angle, then quick enough to toggle back to the other side in a bait and switch. All of his handsiness produced historically great steal rates. Among big men, he posted 8
I'm sorry, man. Who passed the ball?
Produced
BJ what? Bill Cartwright in the post against Hakeem Olajuwon when Bill is at the end of his career? No.
Historically great steal rates.
BJ.
Among big men, he posted 8 of the top 100 seasons in steals per possession, including the highest on record in 1989.
Dang.
Hakeem also borrowed a little Bill Russell move where he kept his
took that title from Jordan at that point.
left hand low to target passes when he left his feet. Back in episode 2, we saw Bill Walton limit other All-Star centers as scorers, but Hakeem was even more impressive against All-Stars at his defensive peak. He held them over 5 percentage points below their normal true shooting while denting their volume, numbers matched by only a few of the other defensive giants. Since we have plus-minus data going back to 1994, we can get an idea of how valuable all this defense was. Using that same hybrid metric from the last episode, his impact looks great, but it's short of the all-timers. Keep in mind, though, his 1993 numbers were likely even better, and he seems to improve in the playoffs. The box score numbers we do have for those postseasons view him as around a top 15 peak, and that's with limited information to capture his defensive worth. Given how much of Houston's success was driven by a strong defense, I think it's fair.
Oof. Was this payback for Kevin Johnson dunking on his head? Or was Kevin Johnson dunking on his head payback for this?
Defense. I think it's fair to assume much of Olajuwon's impact was defensively driven,
for sure.
Which is hard for the box score to capture. In a sense, Hakeem's isolation scoring and monster defense were functionally closer to a young Wilt Chamberlain. Players who can carry subpar offensive talent, but who might not help good offenses as much.
Hey. Yeah, that's my problem with StatAddicts, by the way, is it doesn't show things like this. For instance, like you said, just being able to disrupt an offense. I'm thinking about like Dennis Rodman, Charles Oakley, guys like this that can disrupt your offense by just making moves on defense that are just going to take you out of your game. There's no statistic for this, but the eye test shows it.
Teams' three-point shooting offenses did generate better results than those early Wilt teams, but I have some doubts about how he'd scale up next to another high-end talent, given his passing limitations and shot selection. On the other hand, he did have the tools to add off-ball value as a rebounder and pick-and-roll partner, while providing an inside-out option for any offense.
Yeah, screw that, man. Pair him up with a prime Jordan, forget about it. It's over.
His prodigious defensive timing, mobility, and aggressiveness made him arguably the best defensive player of the three-point era, and, at his apex, one of the very best big men of all time. For more historical content and to support this channel, head over to patreon.com/thinkingbasketball and check out Thinking Basketball, the book, on Amazon. That goes deeper on a number of ideas explored in this series. There are also longer discussions on many of these players on the Thinking Basketball podcast. And if you're curious about stats from this video, there's an entire stat series on this channel. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and that wherever you are, you're having a great day.
Oh, what was he doing next?
He's up, coming back to the other end. Watch Campbell in the post. Watch the trail.
That's a fun one. That's a fun one. All right, everybody. I don't even know. It's another one of those videos. What do I say after absorbing all that? Like, yeah, man, he was that guy. I don't know. Like, there's so much about him that just, like, he reminds me so much of Michael Jordan, but in a center's body. And obviously they play different, but there's so many. I've never seen another big man like that, like, have Jordan-esque post moves, you know. And then also he's dominating on the defensive end and all this stuff, getting steals like crazy. That's why I always wondered what would have happened if those two would have teamed up. And I think Jordan wonders the same question, because he talks about Hakeem a lot. Because yeah, if you got Jordan out in the perimeter, Jordan would have never had to become a post player if he had a post player like Hakeem. Jordan could have kept playing, you know, on the perimeter, and he could have just been known as the greatest ISO player of all time. While anytime, you know, they throw a double team or a triple team at Jordan, dish the ball down to Hakeem, what are you going to do now? You know, you can't double team both of them. You can't double team the perimeter and the post, which is why the 1-2 punch is so important. So what are you going to do? As a defense, who do you double team? No one. And that's how they can punish you over and over and over again. I think it would have worked out great. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Is there any other big guy you can think of that reminds you more of Jordan in the post than Hakeem Olajuwon? Because I really can't. And I'm not trying to diminish him to comparing him to Michael Jordan, but to be fair, I am comparing him to the greatest player of all time. So it's not meant as any disrespect. I got nothing but respect for Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the greatest ever to do it. He is one of two, him and Larry Bird, and possibly Wilt Chamberlain. Those are the three people on my top 10 list that I've broken the rules as far as needing 4 championships or more to get in. Everybody else is stuck with those rules, but these guys were so impressive that I can't deny them. You know, I can't deny them a spot. Wilt, I'm a little questionable about. I'm still trying to figure that out. But Bird, Hakeem, yeah, man. I know Bird's got 3 and Hakeem's got 2, but man, dude, they have so much respect for me. And hell, you know, it's my list. That's the fun of making your own list. Guys, is Hakeem Olajuwon on your top 10 of all time list? Let me know. I'm curious. There's so many things I know I'm asking a lot of questions, you guys, but that's what makes the comment section fun. Because, you know, I am very curious about your input. And before you get to do it, you get to hear what I have to say about it. So, I'm going to head out for now. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night, okay? Be safe, have fun, be good to your people, call your loved ones, say hello, let them know you love them. Carpe diem, seize the day, gather you rosebuds while you may, you all know, and be like Hakeem Olajuwon, aka be like water, my friends. Like the vid, subscribe to the channel, shout out to members, I appreciate you all. And for real this time, be water, my friends.